The wail of a Voxari infant pierces the sterile air of the Galactic Adoption Center on Earth, its cries echoing through the halls. Inside a repurposed stasis pod, the abandoned alien child thrashes, its carnivorous nature the very reason for its predicament. Red warning lights flash on the pod's monitoring system, signaling dangerously low nutrient levels. Timothy Gordon, a human social worker, races down the corridor, his heart pounding in his chest. He skids to a halt in front of the pod, hands shaking as he assesses the situation. The infant's scaled skin has taken on a sickly pallor, its 6 eyes blinking rapidly in distress. Timothy's mind races, acutely aware of his lack of knowledge in caring for this alien species. "I need help," he mutters, fumbling for his comm device. His fingers fly across the screen, sending an urgent message to his colleague, Lara, a Voxari expatriate renowned for her expertise in interspecies childcare. Minutes tick by like hours as Timothy watches the infant's vital signs fluctuate on the pod's display. He paces, running his hands through his hair, feeling utterly helpless. The center's human staff gather around, their whispers and concerned glances adding to the tension. The doors slide open with a hiss, and Lara strides in. Her alien features draw immediate attention. Iridescent scales shimmer under the harsh lights, and her 6 eyes scan the room with practiced efficiency. She moves with purpose toward the pod, her presence commanding respect from the human staff. Lara's tendrils extend, interfacing with the pod's systems. Her eyes narrow as she processes the information. "The child needs immediate sustenance," she announces, her voice tinged with urgency. "Raw meat, now." Timothy blanches, his vegetarian sensibilities momentarily overriding his professional duties. He hesitates, caught between his personal beliefs and the dire needs of the infant. Lara's stern gaze snaps him back to reality. "Timothy, there's no time. This child will die without proper nutrition." With a sharp nod, Timothy springs into action. He sprints to the center's emergency supplies, rummaging through containers until he finds what he needs. Returning with a package of synthetic raw meat, he hands it to Lara, pushing aside his discomfort for the sake of the infant's survival. Lara carefully opens the pod, lifting the weakened child into her arms. With practiced movements, she begins to feed the infant, who latches onto the offering with desperate vigor. As color returns to the child's scales, Lara turns to Timothy, her expression grave. "This infant was abandoned due to its carnivorous nature," she explains, her voice low. "The Voxari have undergone a cultural shift towards a plant-based diet. Carnivorous offspring are now seen as aberrations, left to fend for themselves or abandoned in places like this." Timothy's heart clenches at the thought. He watches the infant feed, feeling a growing connection to the small, helpless creature. "What will happen to it?" he asks, voice barely above a whisper. Lara's gaze meets his, a silent understanding passing between them. "That depends on us," she replies, her tone carrying the weight of the decision before them. As the infant's cries subside, replaced by contented chirps, Timothy and Lara exchange a look of determination. The challenges ahead loom large: Earth's strict regulations on alien adoptions, potential backlash from both human and Voxari societies, and their own personal uncertainties about raising a child from a different species. Yet as they stand there, united in their concern for this abandoned child, a spark of hope ignites. Their decision to pursue adoption sets in motion a series of events that will test their resolve, challenge societal norms, and potentially reshape interspecies relations on Earth and beyond. The Galactic Adoption Center buzzes with activity as news of the unusual situation spreads. Timothy and Lara, an unlikely pair brought together by circumstance, now find themselves at the center of a brewing galactic controversy. Supporters and detractors emerge from both human and alien factions, their voices rising in a cacophony of opinion and judgment. As the infant drifts off to sleep in Lara's arms, Timothy reaches out, gently stroking its scaled head. In this moment, the fate of the Voxari child hangs in the balance, its future dependent on the courage and determination of its potential parents. The journey ahead is uncertain, but for Timothy and Lara, the choice is clear. They will fight for this child, no matter the cost. The Galactic Adoption Center's sterile corridors soon became a second home to Timothy and Lara, as they embarked on the arduous journey of adopting the Voxari infant. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, as they navigated the complex maze of interspecies adoption regulations. Timothy found himself spending countless hours at the local xenobiology library, his eyes straining in the dim light as he pored over thick tomes detailing Voxari physiology. The scent of old paper and the soft hum of data terminals became familiar companions as he immersed himself in the intricacies of Voxari dietary needs and developmental milestones. One evening, as Timothy sat surrounded by stacks of books, his comm device buzzed. Lara's face appeared on the screen, her scales shimmering even in the grainy holographic projection. "Timothy, we have a problem," she said, her voice tight with tension. "The Voxari community here. They're not happy about our decision." Timothy's heart sank as Lara explained the backlash she was facing. Anonymous messages flooded her inbox, each one urging her to abandon the adoption and return the infant to Voxari authorities. The weight of their decision pressed down on them both, a constant reminder of the challenges that lay ahead. As they worked tirelessly to meet the Galactic Adoption Center's stringent requirements, Timothy and Lara found themselves drawn closer together. Late nights spent preparing documentation and early mornings attending cultural integration assessments fostered a bond that transcended their professional partnership. One particularly grueling day, after a series of genetic compatibility tests that left them both mentally and physically exhausted, Timothy and Lara sat side by side in the center's waiting room. The harsh fluorescent lights cast a pallid glow on their faces, accentuating the fatigue etched in their features. "Do you ever wonder if we're doing the right thing?" Timothy asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Lara turned to him, her 6 eyes blinking in a pattern that Timothy had come to recognize as contemplative. "Every day," she admitted, "but then I think of the child, and I know we can't give up." Their hands found each other, fingers intertwining in a gesture that bridged the gap between their species. The touch lingered, charged with an energy that neither of them fully understood or was ready to acknowledge. Their moment of connection was shattered by the sudden appearance of a news holo projection in the center of the room. The reporter's voice filled the air, discussing the controversial case of a human and Voxari attempting to adopt a carnivorous alien infant. Images of Timothy and Lara flashed across the screen, accompanied by footage of protesters outside the Galactic Adoption Center. This is Dr. Elena Morrison, reporting live from outside Earth's Capitol building, where heated debates continue regarding the unprecedented interspecies adoption case, the reporter announced. Human rights groups are rallying in support of the prospective parents, while opposition groups argue that allowing such adoptions could pose unforeseen risks to Earth's population. Timothy and Lara watched in stunned silence as their private struggle became fodder for public consumption. The weight of their decision, once a personal burden, now threatened to spark a global controversy. As they grappled with the implications of their newfound notoriety, a tall, distinguished Voxari entered the waiting room. His scales bore the deep blue hue of advanced age, and his movements carried an air of authority. "Mr. Gordon, Ms. Lara," he said, his voice resonant and clear, "I am Dr. Zandor. I've been following your case with great interest." The renowned geneticist's presence sent a ripple of excitement through the center's staff. Dr. Zandor wasted no time in sharing his findings. "The infant you seek to adopt possesses a rare genetic mutation," he explained, his eyes gleaming with scientific fervor. "It can efficiently process both plant and animal matter. This discovery could have far-reaching implications for our society." Timothy and Lara exchanged glances, the magnitude of this revelation settling over them like a heavy cloak. The potential to bridge the divide between carnivorous and herbivorous Voxari factions was tantalizing, but it also threatened to complicate their already precarious situation. As they listened to Dr. Zandor elaborate on the scientific significance of the infant's unique genetics, Timothy felt Lara's hand tighten around his. In that moment, he realized that their decision to pursue this adoption had set in motion events that could reshape not only their lives, but the future of Voxari-human relations. The couple found themselves at a crossroads, faced with the daunting task of deciding whether to publicize the infant's genetic makeup. The potential benefits to Voxari society warred with their desire to protect the child from becoming a scientific curiosity or political pawn. As night fell over the Galactic Adoption Center, Timothy and Lara sat in the quiet of the infant's room, watching the child sleep peacefully in its specialized stasis pod. The soft glow of the pod's monitoring systems cast a gentle light on their faces, highlighting the mix of perseverance and uncertainty in their expressions. "What do we do now?" Timothy asked, his voice barely audible over the pod's gentle hum. Lara's gaze remained fixed on the sleeping infant, her tendrils gently swaying with emotion. "We protect our child," she said firmly, the word "our" hanging in the air between them, full of promise and unspoken feelings. As they sat there, united in their commitment to the small being that had changed their lives so profoundly, the comm device on the wall blinked to life. A message scrolled across the screen, its contents sending a jolt of adrenaline through them both. "Attention! High-ranking Voxari delegation en route to Earth. Arrival imminent. Prepare for official assessment of adoption case." Timothy and Lara locked eyes, the reality of their situation crashing down upon them. The true test of their drive was about to begin, and the fate of their unconventional family hung in the balance. Balance. The message's implications hung heavy in the air, electrifying the atmosphere with a mix of anticipation and dread. Timothy and Lara exchanged a look of commitment, their hands instinctively reaching for each other. The soft chirps of the sleeping Kicks, as they had come to call the infant, filled the momentary silence. "We need to prepare," Lara said, her scales shimmering with a mix of anxiety and willpower. Timothy nodded, already mentally cataloging the mountain of documentation they'd compiled over the past months. "I'll gather our files and contact Dr. Zandor. His expertise could be crucial." As they set about their tasks, the Galactic Adoption Center burst into a flurry of activity. Staff members rushed to and fro, preparing for the impending arrival of the Voxari delegation. The once quiet corridors now echoed with hurried footsteps and urgent whispers. Hours later, a sleek silver spacecraft descended from the sky, its design a testament to Voxari engineering prowess. As it touched down on the center's landing pad, Timothy and Lara stood side by side, their hearts racing in unison. The ship's doors hissed open, revealing a tall, imposing figure. Ambassador Zaxnull stepped out, his deep blue scales reflecting the afternoon sun. His 6 eyes scanned the welcoming committee, finally settling on Timothy and Lara with an intensity that made them both straighten their postures. "Mr. Gordon, Ms. Lara," Zaxnull's voice carried across the tarmac, deep and resonant. "I trust you understand the gravity of this situation." Timothy stepped forward, extending his hand in a gesture of goodwill. "Ambassador, we appreciate you taking the time to review our case personally. We're prepared to cooperate fully with any assessments you deem necessary." Zaxnull regarded Timothy's outstretched hand with a mixture of curiosity and disdain before finally grasping it briefly. "Very well. We shall commence immediately." The next few days became a blur of examinations and interviews. Timothy found himself subjected to rigorous physical tests, his body prodded and scanned by unfamiliar Voxari medical devices. Lara underwent similar examinations, her alien physiology presenting unique challenges for the human medical staff. Between tests, they were separated for individual psychological evaluations. Timothy sat in a sterile room, facing a panel of Voxari psychologists, their probing questions pushing him to the limits of his patience. "Mr. Gordon, how do you plan to address the dietary needs of a carnivorous Voxari child, given your vegetarian lifestyle?" one of the psychologists asked, her eyes narrowing. Timothy took a deep breath, pushing aside his discomfort. "I've extensively researched Voxari nutritional requirements. While I may not consume meat myself, I'm fully committed to providing Kix with a balanced diet that meets all his needs." As the days wore on, Timothy and Lara found solace in each other's company during their brief moments alone. Late one night, they sat together in the center's small garden, the bioluminescent alien plants casting a soft glow around them. "How are you holding up?" Timothy asked, noticing the fatigue in Lara's eyes. She leaned against him, her scales cool against his skin. "It's exhausting, but I keep thinking of Kix. It gives me strength." Their eyes met, and in that moment, the air between them seemed to crackle with unspoken emotions. Timothy found himself leaning in, drawn by an irresistible force. Their lips met in a tentative kiss, bridging the gap between their species in a way neither had anticipated. The sound of approaching footsteps forced them apart. Dr. Zandor rounded the corner, his expression unreadable as he took in their flushed faces. "I hope I'm not interrupting," he said, his tone carefully neutral. "I have news about Kix's latest genetic tests." They followed him to the lab, where holographic displays showcased complex DNA strands. Dr. Zandor gestured to a particular sequence, his eyes gleaming with scientific excitement. "As I suspected, Kix possesses a unique genetic mutation. It allows for efficient processing of both plant and animal matter. This could revolutionize Voxari dietary practices." The implications of this discovery sent ripples through the Voxari delegation. Heated debates erupted in the center's conference rooms, the raised voices audible even through closed doors. As news of Kix's genetic uniqueness spread, the center found itself at the heart of a media storm. Crowds gathered outside, a mix of supporters, protesters, and curious onlookers. The constant drone of hovering news drones became a backdrop to their daily lives. Concerned for their safety, center officials made the decision to move Timothy, Lara, and Kix to a secure facility on the outskirts of the city. As they were escorted to an armored transport vehicle, Timothy caught glimpses of signs in the crowd. "Interspecies adoption is unnatural," one read, while another proclaimed, "Love knows no species." The secure facility, a stark utilitarian building surrounded by high-energy fences, became their new home. Timothy and Lara found themselves sharing close quarters, the constant proximity intensifying the growing tension between them. One evening, as they sat watching Kix sleep in his specialized pod, the emotions of the past weeks finally boiled over. Their lips met in a passionate kiss, hands exploring unfamiliar contours. The differences in their physiology presented challenges, but also exciting new sensations. Just as things were heating up, a piercing alarm shattered the moment. Red warning lights bathed the room in an eerie glow as a computerized voice announced a security breach. Timothy and Lara sprang into action, their personal desires forgotten in the face of the threat to Kix. They quickly secured the infant in a portable stasis unit, preparing to move to a safe room. The sound of breaking glass and shouting voices echoed down the corridor. A group of human extremists, their faces contorted with misguided rage, burst into view. "Step away from the alien," one of them shouted, brandishing a crude weapon. "We're here to save you from their mind control." Timothy stepped in front of Lara and Kix, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "You don't understand. We're a family. No one is controlling anyone here." The standoff stretched on, tension building with each passing second. Just as it seemed violence was inevitable, a blinding flash filled the corridor. When the light faded, the extremist lay unconscious on the floor, and Ambassador Zaxnall stood in the doorway, a Voxari stun device in his hand. His eyes swept over Timothy and Lara, noting their protective stance around Kix. For the first time since his arrival, a hint of approval crossed his features. As security forces swarmed the facility, Timothy and Lara clung to each other and Kix, the events of the night cementing their bond in ways they had never anticipated. The road ahead remained uncertain, but in that moment they knew they would face whatever came next together. As the dust settled from the security breach, Timothy and Lara found themselves thrust into a new phase of their journey. The incident had not only cemented their bond, but also caught the attention of the interstellar media. Within days, they were approached by representatives from Galaxy Vision, a prominent media conglomerate. "We want to document your story," explained the producer, a sleek hologram flickering in the center of their temporary living quarters. "A reality show titled Alien Family, A Love Beyond Species. It could be your chance to garner public support for your cause." Timothy balked at the idea, his face contorting with unease. "Our lives aren't some spectacle for entertainment," he protested. Lara, however, saw an opportunity. Her tendrils swayed thoughtfully as she considered the proposal. "It might help others understand our situation," she mused, her eyes meeting Timothy's. After days of deliberation and negotiations with Galaxy Vision, they reluctantly agreed to participate. The production crew arrived swiftly, transforming their living space into a set with hovering cameras and discreet microphones. Timothy struggled to adapt to the constant scrutiny. He found himself stumbling over words, acutely aware of every gesture and expression. During a cooking segment, he nearly sliced his finger while preparing a nutrient-rich meal for Kix. "Cut!" the director called out. "Timothy, try to act more natural. Forget the cameras are there." Lara, more accustomed to public attention due to her unique status on Earth, stepped in to help. She gently guided Timothy's hands as he chopped the vegetables, her touch sending a shiver down his spine. "Just focus on Kix," she whispered, her breath warm against his ear. "This is for him." As the days passed, Timothy gradually grew more comfortable in front of the cameras. The show captured intimate moments of their daily life. Lara teaching Timothy Voxari lullabies, Timothy introducing Lara to Earth's classic literature, and both of them navigating the challenges of raising a hybrid child. Their on-screen chemistry became a major draw for viewers across the galaxy. Fan forums buzzed with discussions about their relationship, speculating on the nature of their bond. Off-camera, Timothy and Lara's relationship deepened. Late one night, after the crew had left, they found themselves alone in the kitchen. Lara was attempting to recreate a human dessert she had seen on a cooking show. "I don't think it's supposed to be that color," Timothy chuckled, eyeing the purple concoction. Lara flicked a tendril at him playfully, leaving a smear of batter on his cheek. Without thinking, Timothy leaned in and kissed her, tasting the sweet mixture on her lips. The moment was interrupted by a soft chirp from Kix's room. They broke apart, breathing heavily, their eyes locked in a silent promise to revisit this newfound intimacy. As filming progressed, the show's producers began pressuring them to display more affection on screen. "The viewers want to see the love story," the director insisted during a production meeting. Timothy shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "Our relationship isn't a performance," he argued. Before the discussion could escalate, a message from Ambassador Zaxnull appeared on the room's main screen. The Voxari diplomat's face was stern as he addressed the group. "I must insist on oversight of the footage before it airs," Zaxnull declared. "The potential impact on Voxari human relations cannot be underestimated." The demand created immediate tension between the production team and the Voxari delegation. Timothy and Lara found themselves caught in the middle, trying to balance their commitment to the show with their respect for diplomatic protocols. Amidst the chaos of filming and negotiations, Kix continued to grow and develop. His unique physiology presented challenges that became focal points of the show. Timothy spent hours in the kitchen, experimenting with recipes that would satisfy both Kix's carnivorous instincts and his hybrid nutritional needs. Lara guided Timothy through Voxari culinary traditions, their cooking sessions becoming a favorite among viewers. In one particularly popular episode, they prepared a traditional Voxari feast, with Timothy adapting the recipes to include Earth ingredients. As the show's popularity soared, an unexpected consequence emerged. Interspecies couples from across the galaxy began coming forward with their own stories, challenging societal norms on multiple worlds. The influx of similar cases put additional pressure on Earth's government and the Voxari delegation to expedite new laws governing interspecies relationships and adoptions. Timothy and Lara watched in amazement as their personal journey sparked a galactic conversation. Their newfound celebrity status brought both opportunities and challenges. Dr. Zandor approached them with a proposal for a series of non-invasive studies to better understand Kix's hybrid physiology. "The potential scientific impact is immense," Dr. Zandor explained, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "We could learn so much about interspecies compatibility." Timothy and Lara exchanged glances, silently communicating their concerns. After careful consideration, they agreed to the studies, on the condition that the research would not interfere with Kix's well-being or their family life. As public interest in their story continued to grow, Timothy and Lara received an unexpected communication. The holographic message flickered to life in their living room, revealing the imposing figure of the Galactic Council's chairperson. "Mr. Gordon, Ms. Lara," the chairperson began, her multifaceted eyes glinting. "The Council extends an invitation for you to appear before us to discuss your case. Your testimony could influence interspecies adoption policies throughout the known universe." The invitation left them stunned. The opportunity was unprecedented, but it also meant increased scrutiny of their relationship and parenting abilities. As the reality of the situation sank in, Timothy and Lara realized they had a monumental task ahead of them. "We need to prepare," Lara said, her scales shimmering with a mix of excitement and apprehension. Timothy nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. "I guess I'll be brushing up on my Voxari customs and etiquette," he said with a nervous laugh. As they began their preparations for the Galactic Council appearance, neither Timothy nor Lara could have anticipated the challenges and revelations that lay ahead. Their journey was far from finished, and the next chapter of their unconventional family story was about to unfold. As they prepared for their appearance before the Galactic Council, an unexpected crisis erupted that would test their purpose and change the course of their journey. The first sign of trouble came in the form of a flashing alert on Timothy's personal comm device. His face paled as he read the message, his hands trembling slightly as he turned to Lara. "There's been a leak," he said, his voice tight with tension. "Someone from the production crew sold private footage of us to the media." Lara's scales rippled with distress as she processed the news. "What kind of footage?" Timothy's cheeks flushed as he explained, "Intimate moments, things that were never meant for public consumption." The fallout was swift and merciless. Within hours, the leaked footage spread across both human and Voxari networks, igniting a firestorm of controversy. Holographic displays throughout the city flickered with sensationalized headlines and grainy images of Timothy and Lara in compromising positions. Ambassador Zach Snoll's face appeared on their main view screen, his expression a mix of anger and concern. "This situation has become untenable," he declared. "We need to contain the damage immediately." After a hasty conference with their advisors, Timothy and Lara made the difficult decision to withdraw from public view. They needed time to regroup and focus on their upcoming Galactic Council appearance without the constant barrage of media scrutiny. Dr. Zandor offered a solution. "There's a research facility on Earth's moon," he explained. "It's isolated, secure, and equipped for my ongoing studies of Kix's physiology. You'd be safe there, and we could continue our work." Within days, Timothy, Lara, and Kix found themselves aboard a sleek shuttle, watching Earth shrink to a blue marble as they ascended towards the lunar surface. The research facility was a sprawling complex of domed structures, connected by transparent tunnels that offered breathtaking views of the stark lunar landscape. As they settled into their new quarters, the reality of their isolation began to sink in. The facility's staff consisted of a small team of human and Voxari scientists, all focused on their research with little interest in the personal drama that had brought the family to the moon. Timothy struggled to adapt to the confined space and lack of privacy. The constant hum of life support systems and the artificial day-night cycle left him feeling disoriented and on edge. Lara, more accustomed to enclosed environments from her time on spacecraft, tried to help him adjust. "Focus on Kix," she urged, guiding Timothy's attention to their son, who seemed to be thriving in the controlled environment of the lunar facility. Dr. Zandor's excitement was palpable as he showed them the advanced laboratory, where he would continue his non-invasive studies of Kix's unique physiology. "The potential here is extraordinary," he enthused, gesturing to holographic displays of complex genetic sequences. As the days stretched into weeks, Timothy and Lara found themselves grappling with the intense emotions brought on by their close confinement. Arguments flared up over small issues, exacerbated by the stress of their situation and the looming Galactic Council appearance. One evening, after a particularly heated exchange about the extent of Dr. Zandor's research, Timothy stormed off to the observation dome. He stood there staring out at the endless starfield when he felt Lara's presence behind him. "I'm sorry," she said softly, her tendrils gently brushing his arm. "This isn't easy for any of us." Timothy turned to face her, his anger melting away as he saw the concern in her alien eyes. Without a word, he pulled her close, their bodies fitting together in a now familiar embrace. The physical attraction between them, intensified by their isolation, sparked into sudden, passionate urgency. Later, as they lay tangled together in their quarters, Timothy marveled at how their differences seemed to complement each other so perfectly. It was in these quiet moments that he found the strength to face the challenges ahead. Their fragile peace was disrupted by the arrival of Krelvor, a young male Voxari dispatched by Ambassador Zaxnal to monitor the situation at the lunar facility. Krelvor's presence added a new layer of tension to the already complex dynamics of the research team. Initially aloof and skeptical, Krelvor found himself drawn into the orbit of Timothy and Lara's unconventional family. He watched with fascination as they navigated the challenges of raising Kix, his preconceptions about interspecies relationships slowly eroding. One day, as Timothy was preparing a meal for Kix, a complex blend of plant and animal proteins designed to meet the child's unique nutritional needs, Krelvor approached him with curiosity. "I've never seen anything like this," Krelvor admitted, watching as Kix happily consumed the meal, switching effortlessly between different food types. "It's remarkable." Timothy smiled, a hint of pride in his voice as he replied, "Kix is remarkable. He's adapting to both sides of his heritage in ways we never imagined." Dr. Zandor, overhearing the conversation, rushed over with excitement. "This adaptability could be the key to solving food scarcity issues across multiple species," he exclaimed, his mind already racing with possibilities. As the implications of Kix's unique abilities began to unfold, Timothy found himself torn between pride in his son's potential impact and fear of the attention it might bring. Lara, sensing his unease, took his hand and squeezed it gently. "We'll face this together," she assured him. "Whatever comes next, we'll do what's best for Kix and for each other." With the date of their Galactic Council appearance drawing nearer, Timothy and Lara threw themselves into preparations, studying Voxari customs and interstellar law with fierce drive. The weight of their responsibility, not just to Kix, but potentially to countless beings across the galaxy, pressed heavily upon them. As they worked late into the night, poring over legal documents and practicing their testimony, neither Timothy nor Lara could shake the feeling that their actions in the coming days would have far-reaching consequences. The future of human-Voxari relations, and perhaps the very nature of interspecies cooperation throughout the known universe, hung in the balance. Little did they know that forces were already in motion that would test their persistence and challenge everything they had built together. As the lunar facility slumbered, a ship approached silently through the void of space, its occupants driven by fear and hatred of the changes Timothy, Lara, and Kix represented an unknown threat. Timothy instinctively pulled Lara closer, his eyes fixed on the approaching vessel. "Do you recognize that ship?" he whispered, tension evident in his voice. Lara's scales rippled with unease as she shook her head. "It's not a Voxari design I'm familiar with." Before they could alert the facility's security, their communication devices buzzed simultaneously. The message that appeared on their screens sent a chill through both of them. "Emergency alert. New Voxari government policy announced. All interspecies adoptions of Voxari children nullified, effective immediately." Timothy's heart raced as he processed the implications. "This can't be happening," he muttered, his grip on Lara tightening. Lara's tendrils curled in distress. "We need to contact Ambassador Zaxnal. There must be some mistake." As they rushed to establish a secure connection with the Voxari embassy, Dr. Zandor burst into their quarters, his usually calm demeanor replaced by visible agitation. "Have you seen the news?" he asked breathlessly. "The traditionalist factions have finally made their move. This policy change could invalidate everything we've worked for." Timothy felt a surge of anger and perseverance. "We won't let them take Kix from us. We've come too far." Lara nodded in agreement, her scales shifting to a deeper hue. "We need to fight this, not just for Kix, but for all the families like ours." As the reality of their situation sank in, Timothy's mind raced with possibilities. He turned to Dr. Zandor, an idea forming. What if we could show the galaxy the positive impact of interspecies cooperation, a demonstration of solidarity timed with our Galactic Council appearance? Dr. Zandor's eyes widened. "It's ambitious, but it could work. We'd need to mobilize our supporters quickly." Lara's tendrils twitched with excitement. "I'll contact Ambassador Zaxnal. If we can get him on board, it could lend legitimacy to our cause." As they began to formulate their plan, the stress of the situation took its toll. Timothy and Lara found themselves arguing over the smallest details, their voices rising in frustration. "We can't afford to be reckless," Lara hissed, her scales flashing with irritation. "One wrong move and we could lose Kix forever." Timothy ran his hands through his hair, exasperated. "And if we do nothing, we've already lost. We have to take a stand." Their heated exchange was interrupted by a soft whimper from Kix's room. They exchanged guilty glances before rushing to comfort their son. As they stood over Kix's bed, watching him sleep peacefully, unaware of the turmoil surrounding him, Timothy felt a wave of emotion wash over him. He reached for Lara's hand, their fingers intertwining. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "We're in this together." Lara's scales softened to a warm, comforting hue. "Always," she replied, leaning into him. Their moment of reconciliation was cut short by an urgent message from Dr. Zandor. His team had made a breakthrough in their research on Kix's physiology, developing a series of dietary supplements that showed promise in treating nutritional disorders across multiple species. As they reviewed the data, a new complication arose. A powerful pharmaceutical conglomerate had caught wind of the research and was offering substantial funding in exchange for exclusive rights to the resulting products. Timothy frowned as he considered the implications. "We can't let them exploit Kix's genetic information for profit. There has to be a way to ensure the benefits are accessible to everyone who needs them." Lara nodded in agreement. "We should consult with legal experts and bioethicists. We need to protect Kix's rights while maximizing the potential impact of this discovery." As they worked tirelessly to prepare for their Galactic Council appearance and organize their demonstration of solidarity, Timothy underwent intensive training in Voxari customs and diplomatic protocols. Lara, drawing on her knowledge of both cultures, became his dedicated tutor. Their training sessions often took unexpected turns, with serious discussions of etiquette devolving into playful banter and passionate embraces. Despite the mounting pressure, these moments of intimacy served to strengthen their bond and reaffirm their commitment to each other and their family. One evening, as they practiced formal Voxari greetings, Krelvor, the young Voxari aide, approached them with an unusually hesitant demeanor. "I hope I'm not interrupting," he began, his scales shifting nervously. "But I wanted to ask for your advice and your blessing." Timothy and Lara exchanged curious glances. "What's on your mind, Krelvor?" Timothy asked. Krelvor's tendrils twitched as he explained, "I've developed feelings for one of the human researchers here. I was hoping, given your experience, you might offer some guidance on pursuing an interspecies relationship." Timothy felt a surge of pride and hope at Krelvor's request. It was a tangible sign that their story was inspiring others to bridge the gap between species. As the day of their departure for the Galactic Council headquarters approached, tensions ran high. Reports of extremist Voxari groups planning to disrupt the proceedings forced them to heighten security measures. The night before they were set to leave, Timothy and Lara spent a quiet moment with Kix, reaffirming their love and commitment to securing his future. As they tucked him into bed, the weight of their impending appearance before the Galactic Council pressed heavily upon them. In the privacy of their quarters, their shared anxiety and purpose manifested in a passionate encounter. Their physical intimacy served as a testament to their unbreakable bond, a reminder of the love that had brought them together across the vastness of space. As dawn broke on the day of their departure, Timothy and Lara made their final preparations. They boarded the shuttle, Kix secure between them, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. To their surprise, a crowd had gathered to see them off. Humans and Voxari stood side by side, a living demonstration of the interspecies solidarity they hoped to foster. Among the faces, Timothy spotted his parents, their presence a silent acknowledgement of their support for his unconventional family. As the shuttle lifted off, carrying them towards their date with destiny at the Galactic Council, Timothy and Lara exchanged a look of dedication. Whatever the outcome, they would face it together, united in their love for each other and for Kix. The stars stretched out before them, a vast canvas of possibilities. As Earth receded behind them, Timothy and Lara steeled themselves for the monumental task ahead, not just securing their family's future, but potentially reshaping interspecies relations throughout the galaxy. Galaxy. As their shuttle approached the massive structure housing the Galactic Council headquarters, Timothy and Lara exchanged a final determined glance before turning their attention to Kix, nestled securely between them. The shuttle docked with a soft hiss, and as the doors slid open, they were immediately engulfed in a cacophony of sounds and a sea of diverse beings. The demonstration of interspecies solidarity was in full swing, with thousands of individuals from various species gathered outside the council chambers. Their chants and slogans reverberated through the air, creating an electric atmosphere of hope and defiance. "Stay close," Timothy murmured to Lara as they stepped onto the platform, Kix held tightly in her arms. They were quickly ushered through the crowd by a team of security personnel, their eyes widening at the sheer scale of support their cause had garnered. Signs in multiple languages bobbed above the crowd. Love knows no species. Unity in diversity. Protect interspecies families. The sight brought tears to Lara's eyes, her scales shimmering with emotion. As they entered the council chambers, the noise from outside muffled to a distant roar. The cavernous room was filled with representatives from countless galactic civilizations, their varied forms and colors, a testament to the diversity of life in the universe. Ambassador Zax Null led the Voxari delegation, his expression unreadable as he caught sight of Timothy and Lara. Dr. Zandor, already seated near the front, gave them a reassuring nod. The questioning began almost immediately. A Zentauri representative, her translucent skin glowing softly, leaned forward. "Human Timothy and Voxari Lara, how do you justify the potential cultural erasure that could result from widespread interspecies adoption?" Timothy took a deep breath, steadying himself before responding. "With all due respect, we believe that culture is not static. It evolves and grows through interaction with others. Kix is not losing his Voxari heritage. He's gaining a broader perspective that encompasses both Voxari and human cultures." Lara added, her tendrils moving in emphasis. "Our goal is not to erase, but to enrich. Kix will grow up with a unique understanding of both his biological and adopted heritage, potentially bridging gaps between our species in ways we can't yet imagine." As the hearing progressed, Dr. Zandor presented his findings on Kix's physiology. Holographic displays flickered to life, showing detailed genetic analyses and comparative health data. "As you can see," Dr. Zandor explained, his excitement palpable, "Kix's unique genetic makeup has resulted in enhanced adaptability and resilience. This could have far-reaching implications for addressing interspecies, health concerns, and promoting genetic diversity." Suddenly, a commotion erupted near the entrance. A group of extremist Voxari protesters had breached the security perimeter, their angry shouts filling the chamber. Timothy reacted instinctively, leaping into action as one of the infiltrators charged towards the council members. With quick reflexes honed by years of zero-gravity training, Timothy intercepted the attacker, using the Voxari's momentum to redirect him away from the startled dignitaries. Security forces swarmed in, quickly subduing the remaining protesters. As order was restored, Timothy noticed a shift in the demeanor of several council members. The draconian representative, his scales a deep crimson, nodded approvingly. "Quick thinking, human. Perhaps there is more to your species than we initially believed." During a recess called to address the security breach, Timothy and Lara found themselves in a secluded alcove. The stress of the situation and the high stakes of their case overwhelmed them. Without a word, they came together, their bodies intertwining in a passionate embrace. The physical connection grounded them, reaffirming their bond and commitment to their unconventional family. As they parted, breathless, Lara's scales shimmered with a mix of love and tenacity. "Whatever happens, we face it together," she whispered, her tendrils gently caressing Timothy's face. They returned to the chamber just as Kix was being brought in by their trusted aides. The young hybrid child, seemingly unfazed by the grand surroundings, gurgled happily as he was passed from one species' arms to another. His easy adaptability and cheerful demeanor caught the attention of several council members who watched with growing interest. As the hearing resumed, Lara stepped forward to address the council. Drawing on her deep knowledge of both Voxari and human cultures, she delivered an impassioned speech. "Esteemed members of the Galactic Council," she began, her voice strong and clear, "we stand before you not just as individuals seeking to protect our family, but as representatives of a future where the boundaries between species fade in the face of mutual understanding and love. The galaxy we envision is one where diversity is celebrated, where the strengths of each species complement the others, creating a tapestry of life more vibrant and resilient than any single culture could achieve alone." Her words resonated through the chamber, touching hearts and minds of many present. The Aquarian delegate, her bioluminescent patterns flickering with emotion, leaned forward. "Your vision is compelling, Voxari Lara, but how do we ensure that such interspecies unions do not lead to the loss of unique cultural identities?" Before Lara could respond, a commotion near the entrance drew everyone's attention. Representatives from the pharmaceutical conglomerate that had expressed interest in Kix's genetic information strode into the chamber, their arrival causing a stir among the assembled dignitaries. The lead representative, a tall, slender being with iridescent skin, addressed the council. "Honored members, we come with a proposal that could change the course of this hearing and benefit countless beings across the galaxy." Timothy and Lara exchanged glances, their hearts racing as they prepared to face this unexpected development in their fight for their family and for a more united galaxy. Galaxy. As the pharmaceutical representative finished speaking, a tense silence fell over the chamber. Timothy and Lara exchanged worried glances, acutely aware of the potential ramifications this proposal could have on their case and Kix's future. The lead council member, a towering Andromedan with shimmering, multifaceted eyes, called for a brief recess to consider this new development. As the chamber emptied, Timothy and Lara found themselves in a secluded alcove. Kix nestled between them. "We can't let them exploit Kix," Lara whispered, her tendrils twitching with anxiety. Timothy nodded, his heart made. "We won't. We'll find a way to ensure the benefits of this research are available to everyone." As they strategized, Dr. Zandor approached them, his expression a mix of excitement and concern. "I've been analyzing the conglomerate's proposal," he said in a low voice. "There might be a way to use this to our advantage." The next few hours were a whirlwind of negotiations, presentations, and impassioned pleas. Timothy and Lara, with Dr. Zandor's support, proposed a compromise. The research would be conducted under the supervision of an independent multi-species ethics committee, with the results made freely available to all member species of the Galactic Council. As the final vote approached, tension in the chamber reached a fever pitch. Timothy held Lara's hand tightly as the council members cast their votes one by one. When the last vote was tallied, a collective gasp rippled through the room. By a narrow margin, the council had ruled in their favor. The years that followed were a blur of activity. Timothy and Lara found themselves at the center of a galaxy-wide movement promoting interspecies, understanding, and cooperation. Their story inspired countless others to challenge societal norms and embrace the possibilities of interspecies families. 5 years after that fateful day at the Galactic Council, Timothy, Lara, and Kix stood before the newly renovated Galactic Adoption Center on Earth. The building, once a simple facility, had been transformed into a gleaming beacon of interspecies cooperation. A holographic sign proclaimed its new name, Gordon Vox Interspecies Family Center. Kix, now a precocious 6-year-old, bounced excitedly on his feet. "Look at all the different species, Dad," he exclaimed, his eyes wide with wonder as he took in the diverse crowd gathered for the rededication ceremony. Timothy smiled, ruffling Kix's hair. "That's right, son. They've come from all over the galaxy to celebrate." As they made their way through the crowd, they were greeted by familiar faces and new allies alike. Ambassador Zaxnull approached them, his scales shimmering with what Timothy had learned to recognize as a mix of respect and humility. "Timothy Lara," the ambassador said, inclining his head, "I must once again express my gratitude for the positive changes your family has brought to our galactic community." Before they could respond, Dr. Zandor joined them, his tentacles waving excitedly. "The latest research results are astounding," he said, barely containing his enthusiasm. "Kix's unique physiology has led to breakthrough advancements in nutrition and medicine for multiple species. As the ceremony began, Timothy found himself at the podium, looking out over the sea of expectant faces. He took a deep breath, thinking back to the day he first encountered the abandoned Voxari infant who would become his son. "When I first held Kix in my arms," Timothy began, his voice steady despite the emotion welling up inside him, "I had no idea of the journey that lay ahead. The challenges we faced seemed insurmountable at times, but with Lara by my side, we persevered." As he spoke, Timothy saw tears glistening in the eyes of many in the audience. He recounted their struggles, their triumphs, and the unwavering support they had received from allies across the galaxy. When Lara took the stage, her scales shimmering with a mix of nervousness and pride, the crowd fell silent. She shared anecdotes of their life as an interspecies family, her words painting a vivid picture of the joy and occasional chaos that came with raising a child of a different species. "Our family may look different," Lara said, her tendrils moving gracefully as she spoke. "But the love we share knows no species boundaries. And now," she paused, her eyes finding Timothy's in the crowd, "we're excited to announce that our family is growing. Thanks to the medical advancements stemming from Kix's case, I'm pregnant with our second child, a human Voxari hybrid." The audience erupted in cheers and applause, the sound reverberating through the hall. Kix, beaming with pride and excitement, ran up to join his parents on stage. As the family embraced, Timothy felt a sense of profound gratitude wash over him. Looking out at the celebration unfolding before them, Timothy marveled at how far they had come. The gathered crowd was a living testament to the power of love and acceptance, to bridge even the vastest of distances, not just between planets, but between hearts and minds. As the ceremony transitioned into a lively celebration, Timothy and Lara watched Kix mingle effortlessly with children of various species. His laughter blended seamlessly with theirs, a harmonious sound that seemed to embody the very spirit of interspecies unity they had fought so hard to achieve. Lara leaned into Timothy, her hand resting gently on her belly. "It's amazing, isn't it?" she murmured. "How one small decision can change the course of history." Timothy nodded, pulling her close. As they stood there, surrounded by the joyful chaos of the celebration, he couldn't help but wonder what new adventures and challenges lay ahead for their ever-growing, ever-changing family.
If you finished this story, please subscribe and like the video. Then leave a comment that says, "I liked the story," and I will heart every single one of them. It really helps me. Thank you for your time.